It's Talking Chaos. I'm the Condor. And I'm alone, kind of. Nobody else to help me co-host the episode, but I have a special guest. Epic himself from the Epic Radio Show is joining us. Epic, you want to say hello for everybody?
Hey, what's going on, man? How's it going?
Thanks for coming on. First off, I want to say thank you to all the patrons every month that allow us to do this. They give me a budget to work with, and I get to put a show together. So every week we still crank out episodes because of those guys. If you want to join our patrons, go to patreon.com/talkingchaos. It's the first time I've ever messed that up.
Wow.
Of course it happens, but
yeah, well, you must be nervous, man.
30 episodes in, somehow that's the first mess up.
You know what's crazy is on my show, I literally have to write down all my stuff or I'll forget.
See, I can't do that. Like, I've been being told for 20 years to build lists. Like, give yourself a list of things that you can check off. And I'm like, no. Like, my brain should work better than that. That's my impression, at least, when it comes to list building. Like, I hold myself to a higher tier than you list builders out there.
Well, the thing is, like, especially with a show like mine, I got like 3 other people in my ear and I have to think about all this stuff and run the board and monitor chat and all this stuff. So if I don't have some sort of list or some sort of outline of the show, I'll forget what I'm doing.
Well, luckily this is Talking Chaos, so if it goes awry, that's like the best case scenario.
Yeah. Well, that, or you could just cut it, unfortunately when you're live, you can't really just be like, oh, I fucked up, I can't.
I do very little cutting.
Really?
To be honest with you. Yeah, because I want this to feel raw. I want it to feel like you're in the room with us and that this is a natural conversation.
So I'm going to throw the condom and lube away. We're just going to do it raw, man.
Ouch. Ooh. And if you guys are interested in the full bush, doing it raw style, you can go to patreon.com/talkingchaos and check out our bonus content, which is like an extra half an hour show. So we're going to get into some really interesting stuff in the bonus content. But until then, we'll kind of keep things easy. For those of you that don't know, Epic has we'll call it a kind of a vlog, right? Like it's a
lot of different things. Some people call it a video podcast. Some people call it a radio show. I mean, it is called the Epic Radio Show.
Visual radio show, because you do the thing, you do it live, you do it on video every Sunday, 10:30, I believe is the
10:30 to 12:30 usually. I mean, sometimes we run over, but
and that's Eastern Standard Time for those of you that are interested. You can find it at facebook.com/the Epic Radio Show.
I mean, you could find us on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter.
Where do you guys broadcast the show?
Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and the Epic Radio. Simultaneously.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay, so I've only been watching on Facebook because I'm a tard.
Well, no, that's okay. I mean, well, our biggest followings on Facebook right now, we have about 1,700 people who follow and like on Facebook. We have about 600 on Instagram, 400 on Twitter, and then we have like 300 on YouTube. So it's not like, obviously the most people are watching on Facebook, but you could actually go to our website, theepicradioshow.com, and it actually every Sunday we go live there too.
Yeah, that's you're broadcasting to at least five platforms that I heard.
Well, except for Instagram, there's no integration for that.
No, yeah, you can't go live on Instagram yet. Not quite. They're working on it, hopefully.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I love your show. I think it's great. It's like my favorite way to wake up on Sunday. But unfortunately, I always wake up when you guys are already have started the show. Like, I've never woken up on a Sunday that I've started watching the show before 10:30. So I'm always at like 11:30 noon before.
Well, originally when we first started doing the show, it was actually we had this little internet radio station, okay, that you had to download an app to listen to, and it had music, like everything, like it was a legit radio station on the internet. That's where the Epic Radio Show actually came from, because of internet radio. We did that for about 5 months. We had the show running new episodes every Monday at like 8 o'clock. And it would play 3 times a day until the next Monday, and it would just be a new episode. And then that failed. And I was like,
it failed. I love the way you said that.
It was an epic failure. We maybe had 3 listeners.
The pun, man.
Yes. We had, it was horrible. Like I almost quit. I almost quit after that. But then I was like, you know what? We're going to do it on YouTube. And at first it was audio only on YouTube. And then little by little we invested in cameras and stuff and did that. And in fact, when we first started doing cameras, if you look at some of our early episodes, we didn't have green screen or anything. It was
just you guys in the studio.
Yes.
Right.
Yep.
And you get the full view of everything behind you, whatever's on the shelves.
And it looked so tacky. It was so tacky, man. And, I was even getting, a lot of feedback saying, oh, I didn't like the camera angles and it was poorly lit. And it looks like you're in your grandma's basement and like, I don't know, like all kinds of stuff.
I love that exists somewhere though.
Yeah.
Like somewhere we can go back and
look. Yeah, that's what I love about YouTube, like you can literally go back from the beginning of our show and see the evolution of where we came from and where we are
hard
now.
Work and a little bit of investment will take you, how far it will take you, and what the improvements can be, depending on what you as a producer facilitate. What roles do you have for your show? Like, you talked about your wife who writes a lot.
Yeah.
Do you participate in the writing process?
I do. I come up with a lot of topics. She helps with that sometimes if I'm struggling. But so all the extra segments, we have different segments. So we have like Larry Player One, which
I love that title.
Yeah. He actually comes up with his own topics, but all the other ones, like we have Is It Legal, where the Ant-Man, he's a deputy sheriff, and we ask him questions like they're like obscene laws that exist. Like one of them is like stupid, like how many alcoholic beverages are you allowed to have in front of you in a bar in Hawaii? That's very specific. You know what I mean? And he has to answer it, They're like, are you allowed to have more than 2 in a bar? Yes or no. It's usually yes or no. And it's like, oh, yeah.
You're giving him a 50-50 shot.
Yeah,
in the hopes that he guesses the right one based on his own experience and knowledge of the law.
His average is like 33%.
You're giving him a 50-50 shot and he's still not quite in par.
Yes.
That's fucking hilarious.
She comes up with them questions. She actually researches them on the web and does that. We have a segment for Chris that's called Say What? And it's basically because he's old school. So we try to give him like slang words and stuff that like on fleek or like spill the tea and stuff like that, and he has to tell us what the definition is, like based on what he thinks it is.
Like you give him the phrase skeet and you have to like tell us what skeet is, Chris. Yeah.
Oh, I know what that is. That's a sport I used to play. Whatever, something stupid. But she comes up with all of that. She has her own segment called Crazy News. She finds all the stories.
I love that. Was hilarious. Last Sunday's episode of that was particularly great.
Yeah. So she does a lot of that stuff because I work a lot. So I don't get a chance to do all of it. In fact, I would not have a show if it wasn't for her, because there's no way I could do all of this.
Well, like there are questions that arise from a producer level from like you and I both sort of do the same thing, air quotes. So like I have questions that I want to ask, but are far too personal to ask. And like,
no, ask away. I don't care. My life is an open book.
Like, okay, as far as ownership of the show.
Yes.
How does that work for you?
Well, I mean, I am Epic. It is the Epic Radio Show. So, and I am the host. You know what I mean? So, I mean, most people will say it's my show. I don't really view it like that, though, because honestly, I don't think I could carry the show just on my own. I think it really takes all of us to kind of come together. And honestly, it's been all of us to push the show that's made it as successful as it has been.
The only reason I bring it up is because recently one of my co-hosts, longtime co-hosts, left out of financial differences. Okay. Because basically he was unhappy with what he was getting.
You mean as far as like percentage wise?
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
and I became very defensive and upset at what happened and how it occurred. And it ended up with him just deciding to leave.
Gotcha.
Because I didn't know what to do.
So was he asking for like a 50-50 split, or like how did that work?
Basically, yeah. Yeah. He was demanding a percentage, not 50-50, but a percentage.
And why did you feel like now was he getting any percentage to begin with, or was that no? And why do you feel like that wasn't a thing that you could do, is give him a percentage?
Right now, I don't have any other means of income.
Ah, okay.
He has a full-time job.
Okay.
And he's able to do things because of that I am otherwise finding a very difficult time doing.
No, I understand that.
Like paying bills.
Well, I mean, you know, like if I was in that situation, if I was the person that was your co-host, I would probably look at that and say, okay, well, you know, I do have an income coming in. He doesn't. I'll worry about it when it's big money. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. And that's what I thought the best path was.
Yeah.
Is like, can't we put this aside for a second and concern ourselves with like the
you know, if you were getting like I don't know exactly how much you make or anything, but I'm sure it's not $1,000.
$15.
Yeah.
$15 a month.
So like if it was like 1,000, I'm sure 500 wouldn't be a big deal. You know what I mean? But
totally give
if it's $15 and you have no job, then $750 is still a lot of money.
Yeah, so, it is. You know, it's like solid pack of cigarettes, man.
Exactly. You know, so I get your side of it, and I get his to a certain degree, because if you guys are in it together, I see why he would want. But to be this early off in the whole podcast,
we started doing the show in May.
Yeah, I think it's a little. I mean, forgive me for saying, but like a little petty.
Sorry to break the fourth wall for you, audience, but I thought you should get some context as to like what happened. I've never told the audience as of yet. Like this episode, when it airs, will be the first time that I will have openly discussed sort of how this happened, what happened, and how messed up it was.
I didn't even know either until just now.
But I thought that we should air it, because the listeners might be concerned and they probably want to know what the hell happened to some degree. But I wondered from another podcaster's point of view.
Well, and like, I've had a rotating crew myself too. I mean, when I first started doing this podcast, there's 3 of us, and two out of 3 of the original people are not with us anymore. There was Tokar, and I had to let him go because he had some alcohol abuse problems. That was addressed on the show. It's not like it's something that he's dealing with. Yeah.
You don't have to get defensive with me. I totally understand.
Yeah, well, there were some people when I announced why
they pushback.
Yeah.
Right.
And I'm like, well, he knows like this is something that's been discussed on the show. We've actually talked about them.
It sounds like warnings were given well ahead of time.
Yeah, during the show live, like not like so like like this was something that was very
I totally forget
public.
that you do your show live. Yes. So like that's a big deal if you come to the show drunk.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean literally he was coming in.
It could be funny every once in a while, but every single fucking time.
Yeah. Well, the thing was too, it wasn't even like, okay, so he was better when he was sober. He actually talked more. He was more engaging.
It might be funny if you guys did like a drawing, like who's going to be drunk today? You get shit faced before the show.
Well, it was getting to the point, like, it was getting to the point where he was like dozing off, like in the middle of the thing on camera.
Good. He wasn't yeah.
And
like
people
daisical drunk.
Yes, and people were actually counting the amount of times he would nod off. It was really bad.
There was like a nod counter.
Yes. And I had some really big guests. The final straw, because I dealt with it for a few months. And the final straw was I had this really big artist from Sony Records. He was going to be on the show. And he was from Denmark. And he's been on the X Factor. It was this big deal. I didn't even talk to the guy personally. I talked to like record execs, shit like that. This dude has had like
fucking agent or something. Right.
He's had like 20 million streams or more on Spotify. He's been on the X Factor. He's been like,
it was a big get.
Big deal. And I told him, I said, if you come to this drunk, I'm not, you're done because I can't keep doing it, And he did. He came drunk, caught an Uber here. He had been drinking till 4:00 in the morning. And then we do the show at like 10 o'clock, 10:30. 10 he had to be here. And he was just, he almost fell down the stairs. It was crazy, man. And I love the dude, man. He's awesome. Like I've been trying to find a way to kind of bring him back a little bit. At least go ahead.
We totally talked about this in another episode, but if you put yourself out there, if you're the person who puts yourself in a position where you're on tape or on film or on a billboard somewhere, you have now put yourself up to be either made fun of or poked at or whatever the thing is. So like, I know that there's like some almost some slight guilt that I'm getting from you over like this whole thing. Listen, he did this to himself, and this is what happens.
Well, the thing is, like everybody that's been on the podcast has been like family. Or is family.
Yeah. Right. Like, no, I totally feel you. It's almost, a mutual. I couldn't.
Yeah. I mean, you gotta
nobody else could relate to what you're saying more than me right now.
Yeah, because like, I mean, I have my wife on the show. Excuse me. Goldie, she's not with the show anymore. She left on her own terms. She just didn't have enough time or whatever to keep doing it. But I've known her since she was 10. Larry, I've known since high school. Antonio, I've known since high school. When Jay was on, he's my brother. Mark, who took over the sports, knew him since high school. So like all these people that I bring into the show and stuff, these are all people I've known for years. We're all like family. And
how many times have you had people where you like want nothing more than to put them up? Like I, like you as an individual, have this thought process of like, I have a segment that would be great for you. How do you feel about this? And they're just completely disinterested.
Tokar. But I didn't find out that he didn't like his segment. I had a segment called Ask Tokar, and this was actually suggested to me by listeners because of how insane he was, honestly. Because he would just come up with the most random, weirdest shit sometimes. So we would ask him the most random questions and see what the fuck he says. because you never knew what was going to come out of his mouth. And it turned out that after it was all said and done, and after he wasn't on the show, he hated that segment.
That's
absolutely
such a bummer, right?
Yeah.
Like
and it was one of the most popular segments that we had. Holy shit! There's a big ass centipede right here.
I'm leaving it in. That's staying in the show.
Oh my god! Like it's huge as fuck, man. Like I'm scared right now, dude. Holy shit!
All right, well, we should have done. You should have came on in the fear episode we did. That would have been more suitable. Scared shitless right now, staring at the centipede. That's hilarious.
I'm trying to like find a way to kill it without like disrupting the audio and shit.
Don't get FEMA after us, man.
I don't know, man. Hey,
can you wound it and just like leave it to die later?
Oh man, I don't know.
It actually kills it.
I'm scared to death of this thing. I'm afraid it's gonna like attack me or some shit. God, like he came out of nowhere. He's like he owns this bitch or something, man. Like, yo, what you doing in my studio, bro?
The show has gone completely off the rails.
It really has. I'm like, we're staring at each other. We're having a staring contest right now. Like,
how many eyes does he have? Because it's got to be more than 2.
I don't know, dude. Like, I know he has more legs than eyes.
They're supposed to be good for your environment outside, not inside.
Yeah, well, they eat spiders and different stuff and the thing, but I don't like spiders either. I kill them too.
You're just a killer of all things with more legs than 4. I got
you know what's crazy is usually I have Ashley kill this shit for me, but I don't want to call for her right now and look like a bitch. So
I think you just did it. I don't think there's any getting around.
Babe, don't kill the centipede.
If you guys like the show and want to listen to the full bush and more with me and Epic, go to patreon.com/talking chaos. Epic, what do you got?
And obviously this Centipede's now part of the show. This show is now brought to you by Centipede.
If you guys enjoyed this week's episode, we'll check you next week. Thanks a lot.